The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.
Six p.m. and we have a hearing before the City Council regarding C-69. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that a total appropriation of $7,136,207 be made to the fiscal year 2026 Sewer Department budget, the same amount to be raised/offset by fiscal year 2026 receipts as authorized by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E. I am David Cormier, the Chairman of the Finance Committee. Here this evening is Pauline Cormier, the clerk, and Robert Tossi, the third member. So at this point, I'm going to go to members of finance, beginning with Councilor Cormier, and ask if you have any questions or comments regarding C-79.
No.
Okay. Councilor Tossi?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Any members of the City Council have any questions or comments regarding C-79? Seeing none, I'm going to go to the public and ask, would anybody like to speak in favor of C-79? Once again, would any member of the public like to speak in favor of C-79? And once again, would any member of the public like to speak in favor of C-79? Would anybody like to speak in opposition of C-79? Once again, would anybody like to speak in opposition of C-79? And for the third and final time, would anybody like to speak in opposition to C-79? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing for C-79 closed. And we will go on to the next one at 6:05. I'm now going to open the hearing before Finance on C-80. Dean J. Mazzarella Mayor requests that a total appropriation of $6,919,906 be made to the fiscal year 2026 Water Department budget. The same amount to be raised / offset by fiscal year 2026 receipts as authorized by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E. At this time, will go to members of Finance. Councilor Pauline Cormier, do you have any questions or comments on C-80?
No, thank you.
Councilor Tossi?
No, I don't.
Any other member of the City Council have any question or comment on C-80 before I go to the public? Seeing none, I will now go to the public. Does any member of the public want to speak in favor of C-80? Once again, would any member of the public like to speak in favor of C-80? And for the third time, would any member of the public like to speak in favor of C-80? Would any member of the public like to speak in opposition to C-80? Once again, would any member of the public like to speak in opposition to C-80? And for the third and final time, would any member of the public like to speak in opposition to C-80? Seeing none, I will declare the public hearing for C-80 closed. PM hearing regarding C-81 before the Finance Committee. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested the fiscal year 2026 budget, which totals $178,690,102, be adopted. $178,086,489 to be raised by fiscal year 2026 revenues. $276,500 to be transferred from the Gallagher Building Special Revenue Fund. $67,113 to be transferred from the Cemetery Trust Fund, and $10,000 to be transferred from the Recreation Revolving Fund, and $250,000 from Overlay. This is regarding the attached fiscal year 2026 budget document. At this time, I will go to the Clerk of Finance, Councilor Pauline Cormier. Do you have any questions or comments at this juncture?
No, sir.
And Councilor Tossi?
No.
Any other member of the City Council have any questions or comments at this time? Seeing none, I will go to the public. Would any member of the public like to speak in favor of C-81? If so, please step to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Once again, would any member of the public like to speak in favor of C-81? And for the third time, would any member of the public like to speak in favor of C-81? Would any member of the public like to speak in opposition of C-81? Once again, would any member of the public like to speak in opposition of C-81? And for the third and final time, would any member of the public like to speak in opposition to C-81? Seeing none, I will declare the hearing for C-81 closed. And the next hearing is at 6:40 p.m.
Okay, so, this is a public hearing on petition 41-25. My name is Susan Shalafou-Zephyr. I'm the chairperson of the Legal Affairs Committee, and Council Pauline Cormier is also on the committee, as well as Council Bob Tossi is on the Legal Affairs Committee. So 4125 is Lisa Nugent of 45 Beth Avenue, Leominster, requests that the City Council prohibit all horse and dog racing and any associated betting or wagering within Leominster, Massachusetts by the following. Amend Article 1, Section 22-4, definitions, by adding the following definition. Racetrack. Any tract of land where horses or dogs are raced and where any form of betting or wagering on the speed or ability of horses or dogs are permitted or conducted. Amend Article 3, Section 22-17. Underlying district's table of uses under business uses to add racetrack as a listed use and to add the letter N for not allowed in each and every column for each and every district. Amend Article 3, Section 22-18. Overlay district's table of uses under business uses to add racetrack as a listed use and to add the letter U for underlying district in each and every column for each and every overlay district. The purpose of this zoning amendment is to prohibit commercial horse or dog racing anywhere within the city of Leominster. So this has been on our agenda since since late March, actually. We had a public hearing that opened on May 12th, and this public hearing is being continued to June 23rd at a time to be determined, which we will vote on later in our meeting. So at this point, our plan, and we noted this on the agenda, and the petitioner was also advised of this, that we're opening the public hearing this evening with no testimony, and we are continuing it to June 23rd. So at this point, Mr. President, I would say I would advise that we keep the public hearing open until June 23rd, and we will vote on the time a little bit later in the meeting.
Okay.
Don't allow any public comment?
No.
No public comment?
No. We noted it on the agenda, specifically. We didn't want to make people come down because there are two public hearings coming up. The Planning Board has a public hearing on June 16th on a Monday night, and then followed the following week by the City Council public hearing on this. So my recommendation, I'm sorry, would be to keep the public hearing closed. I'd ask that you pull my committee, please.
All right. Councilor Pauline Cormier? Oh, Councilor Tossi, I'm sorry.
I agree.
And Councilor Pauline Cormier?
I'm sorry, I think you misspoke.
Did I?
You're keeping the public
Hearing
hearing
open.
open and continue to June 23, yes. I
Yes, I am keeping it open.
Thank
Sorry if I misspoke.
All right, and members of the committee are okay with that?
Yes.
So we'll take that up in our regular meeting, and we'll
Okay.
assign a time
Mhm.
when we get to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Next item is 6:45.
Okay. Hearing in front of the Legal Affairs Committee. My name is Susan Shalafuzeffer, Chair of the committee. Councilor Robert Tossi is on the committee, as well as Councilor Pauline Cormier. And this hearing is on petition 32-25. Kenneth Delgado, 8 Highland Street, Lancaster, Mass., requests to amend the current lot width under zoning district RB for 2-family dwellings. The amendment would consist of changing the minimum required width from 80 feet to 50 feet for 2-family dwellings. The current frontage requirement for 2-family dwellings in Residence B is 50 feet, and 80 feet lot width requirement would create pork chop lots, which the city does not favor. Lot configuration would be rectangular and consistent if both frontage and lot width were equal. And this concerns 1420, 1426, 1428, and 1432 Central Street in Leominster. So we have, this has been on our calendar since late February. We've had numerous public hearings on this, and we continued it until this evening. And good. Would you like to sit down at the table, sir? Yep. Thanks. And for the record, if you would just give us your names and address, please.
Excuse me?
Oh, could you put, is the microphone on? I don't think- Good, good. Yeah, if you could just tell us who, your name and your address, please. Thank you.
Kenneth Delgado, 8 Highland Street, Lancaster, Mass.
David Franciosi. I live at 162 Low Street here in Leominster.
Okay. Okay. Do you want, so I guess we're getting some material passed around. Would you like to just describe what you're doing?
We're trying to eliminate our pork chop lots that we have.
Okay. Oh, your mic is not on, I'm sorry. You can tell.
Is that better?
That much better, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're trying to eliminate the pork chop lots that we have here
Okay.
currently.
All right. Oh, okay. There you go, bud. Okay. So you did have a public hearing before the planning board, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And what I was interested in and was waiting for was we did get a report from the director, and what the director explained basically, and I'll read his letter into the record, is that there are a lot of RB zones throughout the city. So if we change RB zoning for one particular location, that can have unintended consequences in other places throughout the city. So,
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, all right. I think I'll read this into the record if that's okay. So this is to the planning board from Mike O'Hara, who's the interim planning and development director. And it was about petition 35-25 to amend the dimensional regulations to reduce the minimum lot width. So Mr. O'Hara says, I have reviewed the petition and the accompanying materials. The petition asks to amend the zoning ordinance's table of dimensional regulations by reducing the lot width requirement for one type of use in the RB district, a 2-family dwelling. The required lot width for all other permitted uses in RB, including single-family dwellings, would remain at 80 feet. The petition states that, quote, the 80-foot lot width requirement would create pork chop lots, which the city does not favor. The 4 vacant lots referred to in the petition were shown on an approval not required plan endorsed by the board in January 2019. See Plan Book 518, Plan 25. The notes section of the plan clearly state that the current dimensional requirements, including lot width, under the current dimensional requirements, either a single or 2-family dwelling could be built on lots 2 and 4, which are 1426 and 1438 Central Street, while a single-family dwelling could be built on lots 1 and 3. That's 1420 and 1432 Central Street, the pork chop lots. In considering the merits of this petition, the board may want to consider the potential effect of such a change. There are considerably more vacant RB-zoned parcels in the city in addition to the 4 mentioned. The board may also want to consider how many vacant RB parcels would be affected by such a change. Also, if the board is of the opinion that so-called pork chop lots are not favored, why have a different width standard for a single-family dwelling than a 2-family? It would be noted that the petitioner has the option of applying for a variance from the lot width requirement from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So what Mr. O'Hara is basically stating is that making a change, wholesale through the city in terms of the width requirements for RB throughout the city could create problems that we don't even know about because we don't know how many lots would be affected. But in your situation, you could get a variance for these particular lots by going to the zoning board of appeals. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I'll go to my committee to see if they have any questions for you. Okay. Council Cormier, do you have any questions?
Well, yeah, so obviously my next question is, have you tried to get a variance? Have you gone that route as
No,
of
we have
yet?
not.
Okay. And is it your intention to develop these into two-family lots?
Yes.
Okay, I'll come back. I'm good for right now.
Oh, you're good for it now? Okay.
Yep.
Councilor Tossi, do you have any questions?
Well, just that we really don't know what the effect, like you said, would be to the city. Other than that, no.
Okay. I'll go to the council. Are there any councils that have any questions for Mr. Delgado? President Bedanza.
Have you guys studied that? Have you looked at other parcels of land in the city and had made any determination how prevalent this is throughout the city?
No, I just wanted 4 rectangular lots in my lots. I wasn't looking for.
Okay, so
anything else in the
you don't have any idea
I
what
do
the
not,
impact's
no.
going to be. And thank you for bringing the plan that demonstrates
I know.
what the current configuration is, but do you have a plan that shows what you want it to be?
city. No, we do not. No, we haven't gotten that far yet.
So what's the, if you don't have a plan, what is your sort of objective here? I mean, you must have a development objective. How many lots do you want to turn this into?
4 lots, rectangular, straight lines down the middle, even lots.
So you'll just re-subdivide this into 4 lots, each of which will have at least 50 foot of frontage and width, and they'll all be two-family construction?
That is correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other councils that have any questions about this petition? We do have 2 other recommendations that I can read into the record about this. The first one is from the planning board. And the vote, this is from Stephanie Witten, who is the planning assistant. Says, it was to the mayor. Hi, Dean. The vote was 6-1 as a positive recommendation. The referral, the chair of the planning board voted against it. I think because of the reasons that I talked about, the increased problems that we could create in other parts of the city. Please note that the director's report provided to the planning board for this petition noted to the board to take into consideration the impact of all other RB zones in the city, as well as noted the opinion of applying for a variance from the ZBA just for the properties in question. I've attached the director review for your reference. Please give me a call if you would like to chat further. And then the other referral is from the building inspector, Mr. Nyall, and he said, I'll read his brief note here. I see no reason to allow this change. So that's the feedback that we got. And do you have any questions for us, or?
No, we knew that, changing the zoning would, could potentially, carry through
Okay.
to the other lots. But we also feel, and the reason I'm here, is that we need more affordable housing.
Absolutely.
And the only way to do that is to repurpose the land and make smaller lots, smaller houses, so that we can make it more affordable. If you don't know who I am, I'm the owner of DSF Construction here in Leominster, and that's why I'm here. I'm also friends with Kenny. It's not a business arrangement.
Okay.
I'm just here speaking in favor.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep, well, thank you very much for that. So, so at this point, I guess, my recommendation, and I'll go to other members of my committee and on the council, would be, to encourage you to go to the ZBA to see about getting a variance, for those particular lots, because it's a perfect, in looking, and I just took a very quick look at the map. It looks like it makes a lot of sense in that location, but it's hard to make a broader decision that might impact the whole city that we just don't know. We don't have the details on, if that makes sense.
We understand that, but also RB is set up to be smaller lots, so we think this would be positive across the city. And we do know, it's never a perfect world
Right.
when you do this, but we do think it's important.
Just for the sake of clarity, if I may, if I don't know what the position of the full council is or even the committee yet, but if this was given leave to withdraw, you could go and pursue the variance and you'd still be preserved to come back here with this similar type of petition.
We understand.
You know, and I don't know what, like I said, I don't know what the will of the council is, but if that's the case, I'd have some answers about how this impacts the rest of the city, good, bad, or indifferent, because I think that's something the council may struggle with.
We understand.
Okay, great, great. Do you have any other questions or any other comments you'd like to make, sir? No?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, at this point then, I would recommend that we close the public hearing on 35-25. Oh, thank you, sorry about that. All right, I have to go to the public. Is there anybody in the audience, in the public, who would like to speak in favor or opposition to this petition? Please state your name and address, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Kevin Cormier, broker, owner of Exit New Options Real Estate, 12 Main Street, Leominster, and residential address of 620 Pearl Hill Road, Fitchburg. Some gifts. It's two different ones.
Two different ones. Thanks.
So I come here tonight speaking in support of this zoning change. I don't think there's a day that goes by that I am not asked what is the cure to the housing inventory crisis that we're facing not only here in Leominster, but across Massachusetts, across the country. And the answer is there is no one magic solution. It's about 1 million different small solutions that are going to help us with the inventory problem in making housing more affordable. I believe that this petition to change the zoning, to have that minimum lot width down to 50 feet rather than 80 feet for two-family homes, is part of that solution, in that it gives the planning board and it gives the city more options for smart growth. And I understand that the city has to look at a balance. We need more housing. But is our infrastructure going to be able to support that housing? Traffic, schools, et cetera. So rather than looking at large-scale housing developments, something like this, in a city that is pretty much built out, that has very limited space to continue growth but needs more housing, it gives the planning board and it gives the city more options to incrementally increase their housing inventory. Again, incrementally, without making huge developments that have a large impact on traffic, have a large impact on schools. Now, if you look at the handouts that I gave you, it really speaks to what we're looking at with the housing crisis. There are so many people that I come across, potential clients, that were born and raised in Leominster, whose family have lived in Leominster for generations. And they're scared, they're frustrated, they're angry, because they love the city and they want to live here and they don't feel that they can afford to live here and buy a home here, those younger people. And it's something that we should consider and take very seriously, because if you look at these numbers that I'm giving to you, their fears are justified. As of May 27th, this morning, 2025, there are 22 homes on the market in the city of Leominster. And if you look, that's not a blip, that's a trend. Look at the previous 5 years. 2024, on May 27th, there were 12. On May 27th, 2023, there were 13. 2022, there were 11. In 2021, there were 14. Are we heading in the right direction? We are. Are we anywhere where we need to be to have balanced housing and to stop the prices from increasing? No, we're not. Prices in Leominster are already up 4.45%. Just since last year.
Mr. Cormier,
Yes.
I'm going to let you continue, but it's 7 o'clock, so we're going to open the meeting.
Yes.
Then we'll recess and we'll give you some additional time.
Yes, sir.
So join me in the pledge.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll now take a roll call of the councilors in attendance, starting with Councilor David Cormier.
Present.
Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Present.
Councilor Arndinger.
Present.
Councilor Noseworthy.
Present.
Councilor Tossi.
Present.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Present.
Councilor Robbins.
Present.
Councilor Frida.
Present.
I shall be marked present. All 9 councilors are in attendance. Does the chairwoman of records have a report?
I do, Mr. President. I have reviewed the records of May 12th, 2025, and I find them to be in good order, and I'd ask that they be placed on file.
Unless there's any objection, that may be done. And I'll now entertain a motion for recess. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, seconded by Councilor Robbins. All in favor? We are in recess. Mr. Cormier, you can continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. So
I
we look
almost
at that-
called you Councilor Cormier. Which would have been accurate
There's enough
about
Councilor
30 years
Cormiers in the
ago.
room. So what I did also is this was a 5-year look-back period from today and each year going back. What I did is, let's see where we were 10 years ago and do a 5-year look-back period from there to see the difference. Right? 10 years ago on May 27th, there were 100 homes on the market in Leominster. Today, there are 22. And we can go back to 2011, that 5-year look-back period, there were 147 homes on the market in Leominster. Again, today, there is 22. And we have young people that were born and raised here that want to buy homes that can. The average sale price in 2011 for a home in Leominster was $185,000. Today, on May 27th, 2025, it is $480,000. It's a little bit of a difference. So why is changing the width requirements in RB for 2-family homes a good step for the city? A couple different reasons. Number one, I talked about in terms that it gives you and it gives the planning board more options to deal with lots and strangely configured lots that we're getting into now because we're pretty well built out, so we need to be creative. And I think that's why the planning board, of the members who were present and they're seeing the presentation and looking at the maps, voted unanimously that night. Of the ones who were present. I know it was 6-1, but of all the ones who were present and looked at the maps and listened to the presentation, that vote was unanimous to change this zoning law, to give you and them more options. The second reason is that this makes sense for 2-family homes is because another option and one of the other solutions for affordable housing and letting Leominsterites stay in Leominster are 2-family homes. Multi-generational living was something very popular when our ancestors first came here from Western Europe in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and then it kind of waned off. But it is something that is gaining popularity again with a vengeance. Now in this country, we're up to 18% of families live in multi-generational situations. There are financial benefits, there are caregiving needs, and there's family connections, and there's a return of young adults coming back to home in these situations that require multi-generational living. And it makes it more affordable when you have multi-generational living sharing in a mortgage cost when prices are so high. This gives that option to the city. Again, it's not a panacea. It's not the be-all, end-all of the inventory crisis and the housing crisis and allowing for smart growth in Leominster. But this zoning change will give you more opportunity, will give you more control. It doesn't change the density. Changes the configurations. It gives you more options with configurations for 2-family homes in RB districts. And I believe that is why the planning board recommended it. I believe it is why you should seriously consider it. And keep in mind all of those people in Leominster who were born and raised and went to school here that want to remain in the city, that want to buy a home in this city, but are being pushed out to Athol and Orange and other places because they can't afford to live here. Let's try to do something to help them. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else, pardon me, in the audience who would like to speak on this petition?
Jim Exaris, 66 Independence Drive. Good afternoon, councilors.
Good afternoon.
What Mr. Delgado is proposing, he proposed before the planning board. I attended that meeting. I'm a direct abutter. I also own a large parcel of land that's zoned RB. He is not proposing changing the density. He's not building more units. There is no density change in this requirement. He's asked you to maintain the density, maintain the side setbacks, maintain the front setbacks, and the rear setbacks. He's merely asking you to configure the lot in a straight rectangular line as opposed to the pork chop configuration that's currently allowed in that zone. It's almost promoted in that zone. When you say you have 50 feet of street frontage and you have 80 feet of building envelope, you have no choice but to build a pork chop because you're going to maximize your lots based on the frontage you have on the street front. And you're going to create a pork chop in the back to get your density and get your lot width. You're forcing the developer to build a chop by the way you're defining your regulations. He's not asking you to build more units. He's not asking you to increase the density. He's asking you to configure your lots in a manner that would create nice, straight property lines. Just imagine that drawing when the neighbor puts up a nice white fence and it goes and does a figure 7 and then turns back out and makes the whole yard look horrible. That's what you don't want in Leominster. That's what creates problems. That's what creates animosity between neighbors. You don't really know where your property line is or isn't. Every day you're calling an engineer and a surveyor to find out where your property corner is. What he's proposing makes sense. I was at the planning board. They voted unanimously in that room in favor of it. They actually said, point blank, you're correcting our mistake. We're in favor of it. The only dissenting vote was John Souza, who was on a Zoom call from Florida. He couldn't see any of the plans. He wasn't engaged in any of the conversation. He didn't even understand what the conversation was, with all due respect to Mr. Souza, because he wasn't in the room. All 6 people voted in favor of it. All 6 endorsed it strongly, and I strongly endorse it. It's a benefit to the community. It has no adverse effect on any property in RB because you're not changing the density. You're not asking for more lots on the same parcel of land. You're asking to configure them in a manner that's more presentable and more reasonable. It helps with infrastructure. It helps with driveway access. It helps with house placement. It is the right way to configure a project and the right way to build property. What he's asking for is proper, and I would ask the board to endorse it. And I completely support what Councilor Cormier, once a councilor, always a councilor. So Councilor Cormier made some very valid points, and I support him completely. Thank you for your time, and have a great night.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anybody else in the public who would like to speak either in support or in opposition to petition 35-25? I'll ask for a second time. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? And for a third and final time, is there anybody who'd like to speak? Okay. Councilor Cormier.
I just want to, if I may, I
Yep.
just want to, Mr. Delgado, I don't want you to be discouraged. I think, and I'm trying to look at the numbers myself, I do have a question. So at this point, are you able to build on each of these lots or only lot 2 and 4? So you can build on, at this point, you could build on all of these lots. You would have, and this would just, as you say, just straighten out the lot sizes.
Yeah, make nice lots.
Okay, okay.
I think the difference is he can build single-family on 2 of them and two families on 2. If we gave him the relief that he's looking for, the zoning relief, he gets to build 2 families on all 4.
On all
That's
4.
the difference,
Okay,
right?
And we're not staggering.
Right.
okay. So rather than have your 50-foot, 80-foot, 50-foot, so you're basically looking, then they be divided equally as to about 65, 66?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that would, okay.
correct.
Okay. No, I think, and I get the point. There's still some questions, some things that we're figuring out ourselves. I think it would be helpful to have a little more information, but I don't want you to be discouraged because I think with more information that I would be more willing to get on board because it does make more sense. And it's not gonna overburden this particular area. But I agree, and if we need more information, we need more information, but thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other councils who have any questions?
Just by way of clarification, I think to Mr. Xeris's point, this particular piece of land is rather unique because, again, they're not changing the density. It's a pretty deep piece of land. So, what might happen here is one thing, but what might happen somewhere else is something different that we just don't know about. So it'd really be good to know, I mean, if all of the other RBs had this kind of depth, I mean, some of it's governed by density, but it's an interesting issue. And I don't, honestly, I mean, I do this stuff for a living, and I don't understand this yet, frankly.
You finished?
Yep.
You all set? Council Noseworthy.
Thank you. I mean, I guess I just want to echo what President Bedanza mentioned with this new information. It's certainly, some important issues to think about in affordable housing. So I don't know what our options are, but it would be nice to get a little bit more information because I'm feeling a little bit differently now than I was before, and I just want to make sure I have all the important information before voting on it.
Council Frida. Go ahead. Yeah.
What's the plan on the price range of these properties? I'm sure Mr. Cormier would have been able to tell us that, but do you have an idea what you're considering affordable?
No, we haven't done a cost yet. We haven't done a cost yet.
And do you own the property now, or
I
is
do,
this?
yeah. I don't, I own it.
Yeah, okay.
You all set? Councilor Arndinger.
Just for clarification, as it currently is zoned, you could put two families and 2 single families.
Correct.
That's 2, 4, 6 houses, 6 residences. With this change in zoning, you could put 8 residences.
That is correct.
So you are increasing the density somewhat. Minor, but.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Frank. Are there any other questions, any other comments from the council? Nope. Okay. In this particular case, and Mr. Cormier and Mr. Exares, they both make really good points. And your particular parcel, it makes a lot of sense to do what you're asking for. But again, my concern is about the parcels throughout the city that we don't know about that could have some unintended negative impacts on either, their neighbors or the, whatever, the neighborhood. So my recommendation at this point would be to give you leave to withdraw so that you could take this particular plan to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And in the meantime, I will definitely, reach out to the Planning Department and ask them for more information about Residence B and how this change in zoning might impact other places in the city. I mean, I think that's an important point that the planning director did raise. We just don't know. So it's hard to give kind of a blanket approval for things that we don't understand completely. I understand in your case, if it was just this one situation in front of us, it would be, a much easier decision. Because I understand what you're trying to do. I think everybody here does as well. So my recommendation at this point would give your petition leave to withdraw, which doesn't, without prejudice, so you can bring it back at another time. And I would ask, poll my committee, please.
Councilor Tossi
I agree.
and Councilor Pauline Cormier.
I agree.
Okay. All right. So at this point, I would recommend that we close the public hearing.
Okay.
Okay?
So the public hearing will be closed, and we'll take it up for a vote a little later in the agenda.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate the information.
All right, so now we're going to conduct the public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on a matter specifically listed on the council agenda. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone and state their formal name and address, along with identifying the specific item or items they wish to address. Each speaker, thank you, Kevin. Each speaker will be asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of the council president, clarification may be given. Is there anybody that wishes to speak in the public forum this evening? And for a second time, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in the public forum this evening? And for a third and final time, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in the public forum this evening? Please step to the podium, give us your name and address and the matter of the agenda item you wish to speak on.
Jeff LeGros, representing MRPC on behalf of a digital equity plan.
Sir, you're not on, that item is not on our agenda tonight, and we're not going to entertain any discussion about it.
Okay.
You can contact the city clerk's office, and we'll get you on an agenda when we're less busy in relatively near future. We'll have you come in, and you can present it during a informational meeting. Okay?
Very good, thank you,
All
sir.
right, you're welcome. Is there any member of the public that wishes to address us on an agenda item for a final time? Seeing none, I'll declare the public forum closed, and we'll go on to communications from the mayor.
C-86, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $24,700 be made to the landfill account, the same amount to be transferred from the rubbish account regarding the $375,000 that was voted in C-43 should have been allocated to 2 other accounts as well.
C-86 is referred to the chairman of finance.
First time on the calendar, Mr. President, regular course.
C-86 has been given regular course. Moving on to C-87.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $5,000 be made to the dog officer account, the same to be transferred from the rubbish account regarding the $375,000 that was voted in C-43 should have been allocated to 2 other accounts as well.
C-87 is referred to the chairman of finance.
C-87 is first time on the calendar, regular course.
C-87 has been given regular course. Moving on to C-88.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $200,000 be made to the school transportation account and the same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account regarding additional busing services were needed throughout the year to meet state requirements.
C-88 is referred to the chairman of finance.
Regular course.
C-88 is given regular course. Moving on to C-89.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the City Council adopt the attached loan order. Read the whole one.
Yep.
Attachment A, ordered that the city appropriate the amount of $112,321,932 for the purpose of paying costs of designing, constructing, equipping, and furnishing a 2-story Fallbrook Elementary School facility and demolition of the existing Fallbrook Elementary School located at 25 Desico Drive, Leominster, Massachusetts.
DeChico, but that's all
Sorry,
right. That's
DeChico
okay.
Drive, Leominster, Massachusetts, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto the project, which school facilities shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children for at least 50 years. Building authority, and for the city may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, the MSBA, said amount to be expanded under the direction of the Fallbrook Building Committee. To meet the appropriation, the city treasurer is authorized to borrow said amount under MGL Chapter 44 or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The city acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined, received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the city, provided that any grant that the city may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of 1, 79.93% of eligible approved project costs as determined by the MSBA, or 2, the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA, and that the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the city and the MSBA.
C-89 is referred to the chairman of finance.
C-89, Mr. President, is given regular course, and we do need to set up a public hearing on this. And also, I know the comptroller wanted to discuss some options or, tell us how we would, what our options would be to pay for this. So I don't know if we want to recess and have their presentation, or if I can if you'd rather me set up a subcommittee meeting on an off night. That's.
I'll make a motion, we go into recess to allow them to do a presentation.
Sure. We have a second?
Kind of important.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
We have a second. Councilor Arndinger, all in favor of recess, please indicate usual manner. We are in recess, and the floor is yours, Jen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I know there was some questions 2 weeks ago when the mayor's communication came down. So the presentation is a bit of both. It's trying to answer some of your questions that you had through that in your letter, and it also relates to this overall funding of the project. So we can just, oops. All right. Well, it'll be up in just a moment. The budget for the school construction project is $114 million. MSBA will reimburse up to 79.93% of eligible items. The actual reimbursement rate is more around 56.06%. And when the mayor was down here, he discussed the difference because MSBA has a lot of items that they either have caps on or that they consider ineligible. However, they are included in the school's plan, the education plan, so they are necessary to build a new school. Some of them are space requirements, others are areas in the school that need to be there depending on the per pupil rate and just the services that we offer in the city. Next. This is a large-scale project expected to span several years. Due to the complexity and the numerous variables involved, it's not possible to accurately determine the total cost of the project at this stage. And I think that's a really important sentence because, you know, as we are looking to this, we are looking to vote on this to move the project forward the next time it comes up. Everything that we are working with now are estimates. The project, I think you can go to the next slide, you know, hasn't gone out to bid yet. There are still a lot of variables that are going to happen throughout this project that we just don't know. What we do know for debt service right now, we have $2.4 million that is currently in our budget. That is what we, you know, have to put towards the project. We also have a local meals tax that you guys passed, and you know, we're hoping that that will bring in between an estimated of $500 and $1 million. But we don't know for sure. Then that can also fluctuate from year to year, depending on how many people, you know, go out to
So
that.
the brightest picture is we'd have $3.4 million available for the bond, to put towards the bond on this project.
Yes. Yep.
And what is it going to take in your estimation to reduce a bond of $50 million on an annual basis?
How much will it cost?
Yeah.
So later in the slides, we have the estimate. So if we bonded, again, these are in today's money,
Right.
$45 million, the bond payment would be around $2.8 million. That all depends on, you know, right now, our portion of the grant is $50 million. So are we able to put money towards it from either free cash over, you know, excess meals tax that we can put towards it? There's, you know, several ways that we've done that in the past. We've actually done it for most projects that we've put additional funds to pay down. And so if we could get it down to under 45, and that's with nothing going wrong. That's with everything being, you know, bid out. Exactly. That's like a perfect scenario. However, we kind of go to a worst case scenario that I looked at, which was a $60 million, and that is at $3.5 million. So that's where it's getting a little sticky, that if, you know, things don't go perfectly, and it's a huge, you know, there's going to be something. I don't think that we're going to come in right at the 50 million, but again, we'll be able to put money towards the project. So staying around that range would be the goal. But I think everybody needs to be prepared and look at the worst case scenario at the same time. So, you know, the 60 million is at 3.5 million. The variables that we see on a regular, you know, mostly is the market gap, just what today looks like between when we go to bid for it next year, interest rates, the amount that we'll collect in the meals tax, which has been very hard to get a good estimate. I think it would be pretty easy, but we can't get a good estimate from the state, and just unforeseen complications.
That's a huge one, right? I mean,
It is.
that really is,
It is.
could make it day or night.
I mean, we could get 1.5 million in, and then, you know, this discussion would not even be needed. But, you know, I think that I'm a conservative person. I always look at, you know, I plan that we're going to get $500,000 in, and, you know, make sure that we're good.
I think that's an appropriate way to look at it.
So, the potential fund, the mayor has been involved in this discussion regarding the project since its inception. He's gone through, he's, tried to send down the communications to just make sure that with the size of the project that it is, that everybody is aware of, the implications that it could have. The uncertainties that are there, and that, there are reservations of whether we are going to be able to completely fund it within the budget, as we looked at one scenario that we could, or if we could need anywhere from $0 to $600,000 of the additional funding. The two options for additional funding would be to tap into the excess levy capacity, just do it through the budget process, increase the debt service, and then we would, use some of the excess levy capacity. That would permanently increase the levy. So we wouldn't be able to bring it back down after the debt exclusion, after the debt was paid. We could do a debt exclusion, which is also an option. That would only increase the levy for the period that covers the debt service. So it would most likely be the last bond that we do to cap off the project. That's what you would base the debt exclusion on. That would also need a special election. So if that was the route that you felt was best, then that would be a little bit more complicated.
So Jen, the point of no return, right, is when this thing goes out to bid. We can reject the bids, right? But
yes,
sign a contract to construct and notice to proceed. It's like the point of no return, right?
So the point of no return is probably when you vote next week. If we vote to move forward with the project, we are saying one way or another, we are going to pay for the project.
So we're making an agreement with the MSBA.
Yes. So.
And we don't know.
We don't?
We don't know what these contingencies are how they're going to develop.
Yeah, and there are contingencies within the 114 million budget, so, hopefully we don't even exceed those, and it does come very close to what they're estimating. But again, I'm a worst case scenario type of person, so I just want you to have all the information as we move forward. So, and then just looking at, if you go to the next slide. So this is the 2025 tax levy. This is what we just did last November. So what I did was I took this, and if you go to the next slide, I increased the amount that we would have taken from taxes by $600,000. So, that's the max that we would need, and adjusted the numbers accordingly. And if you go, and that changed, you can see this also kept the valuation the same, which is important because it usually does not stay the same from year to year. So, this is just a model using it as an example. The valuation will change. But you can notice that the tax rate went from 14.03 to 14.12. And if we go to the next slide, this is what we usually show during the tax rate hearing to, show the difference. And last year during the tax rate hearing, the average taxhold household was $6,205. And if we had increased it $600,000, it would go to $6,245. So it's a $45 increase on average per household per year. Would be the adjustment for the $600,000. Go ahead.
So Jen, just, trying to understand what our role is, right, as a city council.
Mm-hmm.
The communication, and not that I want to talk about it in depth, it's on here for the first time, but the communication is yay or nay to this loan order,
yes.
Right? So if things aren't as rosy or as picture perfect as we'd like them to be, this decision as far as which route we're going next, that comes down the road if I'm not mistaken.
It will.
Correct?
Yes. Yep.
So
I think the mayor is looking to get the sense from you early on to know if this does happen, what would the council's opinion and suggestion, like which way would you like to go if something does happen in the future, but it would be a vote that would be taken down the road.
Right,
So,
because, that could be, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? Could be a whole nother council here by then. I
Yes.
mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
our role is yay or nay to this order.
Mhm.
And I understand where the mayor's coming from. He's trying to be, responsible with
Yep.
how we move forward, should things not be picture perfect. But I'm just not sure how we're gonna give him that answer right now. And it's because there's too many unknowns, and that's not a decision for now. This is the decision that's before us. Are we moving forward with this project and giving authorization up to this amount,
Yep.
or aren't we? And then we gotta kind of, whoever's sitting in these seats 3 years from now has to hash that out with whoever's sitting in that corner office then. Am I correct?
Yes, I mean, yes, I think he was just looking to make sure that everybody was on the same page from the beginning, was, I think, the goal.
Okay.
That's with any project, though.
Right,
Yes.
right,
I mean,
right.
this isn't unusual. Every project is, you gotta do it ahead of time. That's where you're gonna make the decision.
You do, and where this is unique, like some of the other MSBA projects that you have voted on before, we do have to vote for the whole amount. You have to vote for the whole $114 million. I did ask MSBA several times if they have our money sitting aside, but they did assure me that they have a steady stream, and our money is earmarked. So our stream is legally voted, and it should not be moved, somewhere else. So our portion should be secure.
Do you have I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. You were going. Go ahead.
Do you have an idea what the average tax bill would go up based on the same average single-family home on a debt exclusion?
Well, I believe it would be the same.
Same?
Yes, because it would go up, you're still collecting the additional taxes of $600,000. The period of time is just different. So the debt exclusion.
So it'd just be the time that would be different?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Just for clarity on process, kind of expanding on the Ward 3 councilor's points, if the council's will was to go with the debt exclusion route and put it out to a vote to the city, we wouldn't take that vote until the money is needed, correct?
Correct, yes. Yep.
That makes the decision even more difficult to make now, I feel like, to think about route forward.
Yeah.
I'm an optimist. I think that the meals tax is going to raise more than $500,000 by a good measure.
I think it will, I do as well.
So, I appreciate the conservatism.
Yep.
And I think it's important for people to know all this up front. But if we kick the can down the road on the school, it's not going to get cheaper.
It will not. It will
And
not.
it is a real need, and
Yep.
so.
This has been a very long process, even just to this point, and the amount that schools and buildings have just increased by the year from when you start the process going through. It's incredible right now. Even the police station, the mayor said that somebody in another community is looking to build something similar to our police station, and it is already $10 million more than what we paid for it. And
That's good news.
It's.
Wait till they get the utility bills.
Yes.
If they get the utility bills.
Yeah.
Right.
This isn't just a question of building a new school or another school. This is building a school to replace a school that needs some help. I mean, we need a school for those kids. Either we have to fix Fall Brook or we have to build a new one. I mean, and I think that decision has been made by the building committee to build a new school.
Yeah, I was
So,
just
I
gonna
mean,
say the
this isn't a
MSBA
big-
didn't
this
give
is
us much wiggle room there either, and it was
No.
gonna cost more to build,
Right.
to
It
fix
did.
the school.
It was
What
going
I'm
to cost
saying
more
is we're not
because of
talking
the
about building a luxury
remediation.
school just because we want to have another school.
Yeah, no, the
We need to
remediation that you would
fix
have
the
to
problem.
cost to, one, relocate all the students for the period of time that you have to do it, and all of the remediation that you would have had to actually do to the building, it was more expensive.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for the comptroller or Wendy? I think that was very helpful.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you
Thank
guys coming down with it, information, and we're going to give this regular course, set up a public hearing through the finance chair, and we'll move along.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for,
Right.
we back in session?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to set up a public hearing, give this regular course. I don't know what we have for dates and times, Madam Clerk. I
Well,
know
it's going to be
we're busy.
6/9, so the horse racing is 6/23, which is good. What do we have on for 6/9 right now?
Only the two appointments that you were, she made move,
What time are those scheduled?
6 and 6:15.
I would suggest, well, we might need a little bit of time, right? So,
Mr. President, it was, excuse me, I didn't mean
Yeah.
to talk out of order. It was, I will be requesting 2 other interviews this evening as well. It was my thought, with so much going on the 6/9 meeting, the 6/23 meeting, perhaps we could move all these interviews over to the first meeting in July.
I don't know what these positions are wanting in the city, or whether that's, I mean, so we'll have 4 interviews, right? On 6/9, is that what you?
We have 2 as of now.
As of now.
My suggestion was going to be is to bump those 2, to put those to the first week of July.
I think we can, if all we have is 2 interviews, I think we can do this public hearing and the 2 interviews. I don't see a problem with that.
That's fine, Mr. President, just a suggestion.
I would suggest 6:30 for C-89, if that's okay with the Finance Committee.
Works for me.
Councilor Tossi, you okay with that?
I agree.
All right. So all those in favor of establishing a public hearing on C-89 on June 9th at 6:30, please recognize the usual manner. All right, so that may be done. All right, moving on to C-90.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $73,000 be made to the police capital expense account, the same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency regarding to purchase the police motorcycles at the end of their lease term.
C-90 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
First time on the calendar, regular course.
Very well, C-90 has been given regular course. Moving on to C-93.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests to fund the proposed CDBG budget action plan for the city of Leominster, year 51.
C-93 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the agenda, regular course, please.
Very well, C-93 has been given regular course. Does that require a public hearing?
Yes.
I think it does, too.
Does it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure,
I don't think we ever did.
No?
No.
No.
All right, I think maybe we just recessed and allowed Ellen
to
Racine
come
to
in
come down and
and
explain
explain
it.
Yeah.
All right, so regular course, C-94?
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an increase of $1,000 for Leominster School Committee members, along with an annual cost of living increase. Based on the Consumer Price Index, this increase would begin at the start of term year.
All right, a couple things on this. First of all, the last word, I'm told, of that communication should be term, next term. That's the way it came down from the mayor's office. So if you can make that note, make that change. And then inadvertently, this went to finance. This should be with legal affairs. It's going to be a change of an ordinance as well, because that pay is established by ordinance. So I'm going to refer this to, reassign it to the chairwoman of legal affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I would give this a regular course, I guess, with referral to, this came from the mayor?
It
didn't
did.
come from the school
It
committee?
came from the mayor,
It came from the mayor.
yes. Yeah, this came from the mayor.
Comptroller?
Yeah, definitely the comptroller. I would say the superintendent. It has to come out of her budget, I'm imagining, right, the
Okay.
increase.
Makes sense.
And I would also ask KP Law about the ordinance, because we'll need the ordinance changed.
Yeah, Council Robbins?
Can I just make a suggestion that we change the superintendent to the business manager?
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be
I agree.
an awkward situation once again for the superintendent to be asking for a raise
Okay.
for her bosses.
Chair's okay with that?
I am.
Okay. Yeah, they're going to have to do an ordinance KP law at some point, so we might as well get them going on it. All right, and we'll need a public hearing for this, I think, right? So maybe, we got plenty of time. Maybe the first meeting in July?
Yep.
Anything scheduled for the first meeting in July yet, for public hearing? All right, so why don't we do 6:50 for the public hearing, what's the first meeting in July's date? Does somebody know that off the top of their head?
14.
July 14? Okay.
Okay.
Counselor Tossi, you okay with that?
Yes, agree.
Counselor Pauline Cormier?
Yes.
All those in favor of giving C-94 regular course, establishing a public hearing on July 14th at 6:50 with those referrals, please recognize your manner. All right, that may be done. Moving on to appointments, starting with C-91. That's okay.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of the following individuals to the Leominster Housing Authority, term to expire 4/15/2030. Mary Ellen Hurley of 140 Smith Street, Leominster. Tamara Castro Camacho of 82 Heron Way in Leominster.
C-91 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Mr. President, I'd ask for regular course, and I would like to extend an invitation to each of these individuals to come down for an interview, and perhaps we can use that first meeting in July as well.
Sure, July 14th, we'll ask the clerk to try to set that up so it doesn't conflict with the hearing on C-94. Moving on to C-92.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of the following individual to the Conservation Commission, term to expire 4/15/2028. Jordan Vashon, 773 West Street, Leominster.
Very well, C-92 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, and could we please invite Mr. Vashon to come down on the 7/14 date?
Very well. I'll have the clerk coordinate an interview for Mr. Vashon as well. C-92 has been given regular course. Moving on to petitions, first
Ms.
time on the agenda.
She's a girl, yeah, woman, sorry.
Sorry?
Ms.
Ms.
Vashon.
Ms.
Yeah.
Vashon.
Moving on to petitions, first time on the agenda.
GameStop Incorporated requests to renew a license to deal secondhand dealer articles at 26 Orchard Hill Drive, Leominster, Mass.
50-25 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course.
Very well, 50-25 has been given regular course. Moving on to matters before the City Council, starting with the financial report. Is the chairman ready to
Yes,
report?
Yes, Mr. President, we began the fiscal year with $15,008,891 once free cash was certified. We have currently spent $9,151,336.84. That does include some items that are on the agenda here tonight and for the first time. And if all approved, we will have a balance of $5,857,529.16. The City of Leominster Stabilization Fund, we began the fiscal year on July 1st, 2024 with $22,927,553.81. We've earned interest in the amount of $472,023.71. We've replenished the account with what we borrowed, plus a little extra with $1,250,000. And that leaves us with a balance of $23,515,227.07. The opioid stabilization has started with $518,703.20. We've gotten proceeds from the state in the amount of $126,842.67. We've spent $133,000 so far, and leaving us with a balance of $512,545.87, and that is the financial report.
Any questions? Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
I do, through the chair to the finance chair. We're missing the capital account.
Yep, I'm noticing that now. I will have the comptroller send that to us electronically.
Great, and then maybe the clerk can just email that to us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay,
I do
anybody else?
apologize, it's not attached, so.
All right, moving on to C75, is the chairman ready to report?
C-75, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the amount of $7,500 be made to the Department of Public Works capital account, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency. This is regarding road safety analysis. I'm just going to read a letter very quickly. With these funds, we will be hiring a traffic consultant to prepare for our application to the federal Safe Streets for All program. The analysis required for the submission of this grant requires significant work, including data collection. Should the grant funds be awarded, the city would be able to conduct a street-by-street analysis of safety issues on all city streets and develop a priority list for changes and/or upgrades. Once the plan is complete, the city would be eligible to use the plan to apply for both state and federal grants for our priority projects. If you have any questions, contact my office at any time. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. This is every ward councilor's dream to fix some of these problems. Probably every city councilor, even if you're not a ward councilor, we all hear the complaints. And we already had a subcommittee meeting on this, and the recommendation from Finance was unanimous to grant C-75, Mr. President.
Thank you. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-75. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Frida?
So the way I understand it is, once we have this person in place, we need that to apply for some of these other grants in federal and state?
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Right. This isn't a permanent person, it's a consultant. It's a contract.
Correct.
Hiring somebody
Right, it's a
contractually.
contract, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks.
Yep.
All right, anyone else? Okay, all those in favor, please recognize the usual manner. Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, C-75 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order that the sum of $7,500 be made to the Department of Public Works capital account, same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account regarding road safety analysis. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request to adopt the order. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yea.
Anyone opposed? The order is adopted by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to C-76.
C-76, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the council vote to establish a donation account for the All-American City competition. The All-American City Award recognizes communities that leverage civic engagement, collaboration, inclusiveness, and innovation to successfully address local issues. Just a letter here. I know that the mayor and many others that have been involved in this are very proud of this. I will read a short letter. The All-American City Award recognizes communities that leverage civic engagement, collaboration, inclusiveness, and innovation to successfully address local issues. I am so excited that Leominster has been chosen to be one of only 20 finalists for this award out of thousands of communities across the country that applied. At the end of June, a delegation from Leominster will be traveling to Colorado to compete to be named one of the 10 All-American Cities for 2025. We'll be raising funds privately to pay the expenses of this process, which includes travel and accommodations for the Leominster delegation, production of a video for the opening ceremony, production of materials for the exhibit part of the event, and other promotional items. The delegation will also be attending sessions with other communities to learn about national initiatives and innovative best practices. So that is what this is all about. We are very proud of this. Hopefully we can put our community on the map in a good way and be chosen. And the unanimous recommendation from Finance was to grant C-76.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-76. Any discussion? Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yep, sorry. I would love to know, through the chair to the finance chair, who is part of this delegation and what the plan is. I mean, they must be in the process now of developing all those materials if they're traveling at the end of June. So it would be really nice to see what the city is putting together and who are the people that are going to represent the city at this June meeting.
Okay. I will get a list of that. I was thinking the same thing as well, and I will ask for further information. I would have to think that that's
Yeah, thank you.
In the works are very close to being done, if not done. You're welcome.
Council Frida?
Yeah, through the chair, how much money we anticipating they need to raise?
That has not been discussed. I don't know. I can find out.
Not for anything, but why wouldn't you think of those when you read that letter, that these are going to be
Well,
questions from us?
I had a subcommittee.
And I know the vice chair is shaking her head over there, but
have-
these are questions that I think we should have answers to.
I had a subcommittee meeting at your request, and everybody was invited, and those questions could have been asked then. These are all private donations.
I'm
that are
not the
coming in.
finance chair.
Okay.
Can I just say?
You could have been here
Can
to
I-
ask these questions, that you've asked me to have a subcommittee meeting so we could hash all this out, and you weren't here to ask these questions, so I could get the answers for them.
Just, I think, good questions, okay, but I think.
Thank you. I thought they were.
I think the situation, from what I understand, is a little fluid. Question is, I think they're planning the delegation, they're planning what they want to present. They got to go out and raise money. It's going to be budget-driven to a certain extent, but I think we could get an interim presentation or some kind of a conceptual plan to come back to us would be fair. Yes, Councilor Shalvo.
Right, no, I'm sure they do have a budget. I mean, if you're fundraising and you know what the costs are, what the travel costs are, what the setup costs are, what the convention costs are. So I'm sure one of the first steps would be to have a budget and then go from there. So an interim or an early presentation would be really helpful for me. I'm curious about it, I'm interested in it, so that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think it's, obviously, I mean, I don't know if anybody thinks it's a bad thing, that what we're doing, but it would be good to have some information on it, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm certainly not objecting to it either. But I think, when you're talking delegation, that can be 2 people, it can be 40 people. I mean, I think it's a legitimate question. It can be $10,000, it can be $50,000.
Yeah.
I think there's
It's heartening to know that it's privately funded, not city funded,
Yeah.
but still, I'm sure that we can get some kind of an idea, that, I'm sure that, I think Wendy's been working on it hard, that she can communicate with Councilor Cormier and get us some information the next time around. Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and I understand everybody's questions, and out of curiosity, yeah, I have that too. I would love to know who's on the delegation. I would love to know how much money. But what we're being asked to do, and what we discussed at the subcommittee meeting, is just to allow them to establish an account.
Right.
We're not asking for any guidelines and only saying, well, you can only raise this amount. They're just saying, hey, we need to establish an account. We're doing this privately. We're going to get a delegation. So it's not that out of curiosity. It's not that I don't need that information to vote to let them open an account. Out of personal curiosity, yeah, I would love to know who's going. I would love to know, how much they're going to raise. But we're only being asked to allow them to open an account.
through the chair to the vice chair. I understand what you're saying, but don't you think that's a little important to ask that question?
No.
You don't think it's, you don't think, if, for example,
I think that they are asking us for permission to open an account.
Right.
So that they can do it. They gave us the specific purpose of it, that it's going to be privately funded and it's going to be a delegation. Now, out of curiosity, would I like to know for myself? Certainly. But is that going to stop me from voting on allowing them, they're going in June, to open an account so that they can do this and get it done, so they can go to this in June?
All right, well, I think there's a happy medium, but Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr, go ahead.
Thank you.
Your question.
Through the chair to the Ward 2 councilor. For me, it's more than a curiosity, and I understand your point about they're only asking us to open the account. But I get questions from constituents about things that we vote on. So if I can't say to somebody, oh, the account was for this or that, it's going to be 5 people, it's going to be 10 people, it's going to be whatever, I need the context for any vote that I take, because I want to be able to answer questions. So some of it's my own curiosity, some of it is I want to be prepared for the people that I know will ask questions. And I think sometimes people in City Hall forget that the City Council, we're part of city government too. I think we're the last people to hear about a lot of things, often the last group of people to hear about certain details on certain things that have been planning. And as an example, and I'll make this very quick, the email that we got today about going down to see Mr. Mulheron at the mall to talk about the new life for the mall. It's like, I'm not going to go down and talk to a guy that I know nothing about. Does the city have a plan? Have there been discussions about it? I mean, the email was incomplete in a way that made me uncomfortable. So anyways, it's part of it is for my own curiosity, and I understand that, but part of it is really so that I can do my job in a better way for me, because that's the way I do it.
And that's fine. My only thing is, this is going to happen in June,
Yeah.
so by not allowing them to establish this account, we're gonna vote against it, or we're gonna delay it to get more information so that they miss out on it. That's what I don't want to have happen. I don't want to delay this
All right.
so
No,
that it can't be done.
Yeah.
It's a vote to open an account, that's it.
I got a sneaking suspicion that the mayor will be down here with all the bells and whistles telling us about this whole program, but I could be wrong. Councilor Frida, I don't want, I'll let you be the last word on this one.
I think the vice chair just proved my point. We don't want to put this off. So that's why I think some of these things should have some answers when they come down to us for the first time. And, the gestures over there are great, but we're councilors on this side too that might have some same questions. The shaking of the hands and the shaking of the head when we say
Wasn't
something.
shaking my hands or
But
shaking my head.
The point is,
I made a point
I've been
to
through,
him.
I've been through this before, and I think this is a great thing that we're going for All-American City. But let's just assume that we don't get all the money that we need, and we're asked to budget some, which I think most of us would be happy to do, depending on how much. But if you've got 3/4 of our staff going to Colorado, that's a question as opposed to 10 people going. Is it 20 people? Is it 30 people? What do they expect? The planning department, the economic development director? I think somebody has an idea of who should be going to represent the city. And I don't think they're difficult questions, and I don't think it warranted this much of a discussion, but
All right.
just a simple question to say, give us more information. I've been saying that for a while.
I'd agree. I think we can figure that out. All right, can we have a vote now? We have a unanimous recommendation. All those in favor of establishing this account, C-76, please recognize usual manner. All right, so by a vote of 9-0, C-76 has been granted, and we will seek further information. Moving on to C-77.
C-77, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $50,000 be made to the Police Department overtime account, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. We have a letter here from Chief Malatis. Over the last 3 months, our overtime budget has been depleted from investigations, contractual obligations for time off, shift overtime, and training new supervisors. I would also like to forecast overtime for the end of the fiscal year. As a result, I would request $50,000 in additional overtime. The unanimous recommendation by Finance was to grant C-77.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-77. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please recognize usual manner. Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, C-77 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order that the sum of $50,000 be made to the Police Department overtime account, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request to adopt the order. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, the order has been adopted. Moving on to C-88.
78.
I'm sorry, 78. You're correct.
C-78, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $60,000 be made to the Fire Department expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. We have a letter here from the chief that the Fire Department requests the sum. The money will be used to supplement the automotive, light, and medical line items. The department has experienced a high volume of major repairs to our fire apparatus this year, to include Ladder 2's engine rebuild, multiple suspension and brake repairs, coupled with a significant increase in automotive parts. The cost of electricity, gas, and National Grid's transmission charges have made it difficult to budget the light account properly. The medical account is affected by the increased supply prices, and and increased call volume. The city recoups the money through its ambulance billing with fiscal year 25 ambulance receipts showing $100,000 plus increase to date. So there was a unanimous recommendation by the Finance Committee to grant C-78.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-78. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-78, please recognize usual manner. Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, C-78 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order that the sum of $60,000 be made to the Fire Department expense account, same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request to adopt the order. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? The order is adopted by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to C-79.
C-79, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested a total appropriation of $7,136,207 be made to the fiscal year 2026 Sewer Department budget, the same amount to be raised or / offset by fiscal year 2026 receipts as authorized by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E. Obviously, we had a public hearing on this item tonight. Nobody from the public spoke for or against. It would be, and the subcommittee did not take this up during our subcommittee meeting because we wanted to wait to hear from the public. It would be my recommendation that we grant C-79. We were told during the budget meetings that all of our increases are in place to support this funding, and it would be my recommendation that we grant C-79. I'll also check with members of my committee.
Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
I agree.
You've heard a unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-79. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-79, please recognize usual manner. Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, C-79 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order that the sum of $7,136,207 be made to the fiscal year 2026 Sewer Department budget, the same amount to be raised / offset by the fiscal year 2026 receipts as authorized by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request to adopt the order. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, the order is adopted. Moving on to C-80.
C-80, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested a total appropriation of $6,919,906 be made to the fiscal year 2026 Water Department budget, the same amount to be raised / offset by the fiscal year 2026 revenues as authorized by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E. Once again, we had a public hearing on this tonight. Nobody from the public spoke for or against. This was part of our budget hearing. The revenue streams are in place, and it would be my recommendation that we grant C-80, and I'll ask that you check with members of my committee.
Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
And Councilor Pauline Cormier?
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-80. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-80, please recognize the usual manner. Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, C-80 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order that the sum of $6,919,906 be made to the fiscal year 2026 Water Department budget, the same amount to be raised / offset by the fiscal year 2026 receipts as authorized by Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request to adopt the order. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, the order is adopted. Moving on to C-81.
C-81, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the fiscal year 2026 budget, which totals $178,690,102, be adopted. $178,086,489 to be raised by the fiscal year 2026 revenues, $276,500 to be transferred from the Gallagher Building Special Revenue Fund, $67,113 to be transferred from the Cemetery Trust Fund, and $10,000 to be transferred from the Recreation revolving fund and $250,000 from overlay. This is regarding the attached fiscal year 2026 budget document. We did have a public hearing. No one from the public spoke for or against. It would be my recommendation that we grant C-81. You know, in my years down here, you know, this is a pretty lean budget, but it does meet the needs responsibly of, you know, the residents of Leominster. We are not cutting services, which is a good thing. We're actually on the school side adding about 12 positions, which I'm sure would be the envy of many other communities at this juncture. There's not a lot of excitement with the budget, other than the fact that we're gonna maintain our services and our staffing, and you know, I think get through the fiscal year. We'll obviously have some supplemental appropriations, as always, as things arise, that we can internally borrow from our stabilization fund and then pay back with free cash. So it would be my recommendation, Mr. President, that we grant C-61, and I'll ask you check with members of my committee, as we did not come up with a recommendation at our subcommittee meeting because we wanted to wait for the public hearing.
81, but
What did I say?
61.
Oh, sorry,
That's all right.
C-81.
I did the same thing 5 minutes ago. Counselor Tossi?
178 million. I agree.
Counselor Pauline Cormier?
I agree.
All right. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-81 fiscal year 26 budget. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please recognize usual manner. Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, C-81 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President. Order that the fiscal year 2026 budget, which totals $178,690,102, be adopted. $178,086,489 to be raised by the fiscal year 2026 revenues. $276,500 to be transferred from the Gallagher Building Special Revenue Fund. $67,113 to be transferred from the Cemetery Trust Fund. $10,000 to be transferred from the Recreation Revolving Fund, and $250,000 from overlay. This is regarding the fiscal year 2026 budget. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request to adopt the order. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? The order is adopted by a vote of 9-0. I was going to ask something editorially about the Cemetery Trust Fund, but I won't.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Moving on to C-83.
You know what, though, Mr. President?
What's
You
that?
just reminded me of something.
I did.
Can the record reflect in the budget that I am abstaining from fire department wages and salaries, as I am required to by law because I have an immediate family member that serves in the fire department?
Okay, that'll be
You
noted.
did kind of remind me of something, though. Thank you.
My pleasure. Anytime.
C-83, Dean J. Mazzarella Mayor requested an appropriation of $25,000 be made to the library's operating account, the same amount to be transferred from the library's personnel budget. This is regarding to help the library meet the materials expenditure requirements set by the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. So basically what we need to do is we need to appropriate a total of $40,000 to meet this requirement. The reason why this is piecemealed is because the money is coming from a couple of different places, which I will explain. So on C-83, the money is coming from the library's personnel budget. The reason being, there was a vacancy for a short time. There was a savings in that item in the budget. That position has since been filled, but the savings with the gap, they're going to put toward this requirement with that extra money that they've saved. So that's this $25,000 piece of it, and the subcommittee had a unanimous recommendation to grant C-83.
All right, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-83. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of granting C-83, please recognize the usual manner. No, anybody opposed? By a vote of 9-0, C-83 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $25,000 be made to the library's operating account, the same amount to be transferred from the library's personnel budget. This is regarding, once again, to help the library meet the materials expenditure requirements set by the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request to adopt the order. Is any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, the order is adopted. Moving on to C-84.
C-84, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $5,000 be made to the library's operating account, the same amount to be transferred from the library's state aid to public library account. This is something completely separate. It is not part of a requirement. It is the luxury of the council to do this. Well, I guess everything is. We just wouldn't get our money on the other ones as well. But what they're looking to do with this money this year is this planned transfer will allow the library to continue to provide a wide array of events and programs for Leominster residents. Things, we see all the advertisements. There's so many things going on at the library now, from magicians to concerts on Sunday, and I think it's very well received, and it's really not a ton of money, but brings a lot of enjoyment to a lot of people that just don't want to travel outside of town or don't have the means to. A lot of these things are great programs, and it would be my recommendation. Actually, the committee's recommendation was unanimous to grant C-84.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-84. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate in the usual manner. Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, C-84 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President. Order that the sum of $5,000 be made to the library's operating account, the same amount to be transferred from the library's state aid to public library account. This is to provide that wide array of events and programs for Leominster residents. And move for the adoption of the order.
You heard the request to adopt the order. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? The order is adopted by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to C-85.
C-85, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $15,000 be made to the library's operating account, the same amount to be transferred from the library's state aid to public libraries. This is to help the library meet the materials expenditure requirement set by the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. This is the other $15,000. The difference is that it's coming out of a different account. So it would be my recommendation, once again, the subcommittee, the unanimous recommendation was to grant C-85.
It might be useful for the public to realize, and Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr can chime in on this too, because she's a trustee, that we have for many years accumulated monies in our state aid reimbursement. And I think we have north of $500,000 in that account, which is an enviable place to be for a public library. So anyway, that might be helpful for the public to know that. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee on C-85. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate in the usual manner. By a vote of 9-0, C-85 has been adopted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, move for the adoption, request that $15,000 be made to the library's operating account, the same amount to be transferred from the library's state aid to public libraries account. This is to meet the requirement for the expenditure requirements set by the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request to adopt the order. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? The order is adopted by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to 49-25.
49-25, Gregory C. Chapdelaine, purchasing agent, and Jennifer Reddington, comptroller, request to allow the purchasing agent to award a contract for a 6-year period for an energy consulting firm, provide advisory services to the city for negotiating of energy contracts, advisory services on what energy savings the city should undertake, and all other issues dealing with energy supply services in the private market. We do have a letter signed by both Greg Chapdelaine and Jen Reddington. I can read it into the record that they're looking to enter into a 6-year period, as we've already discussed. And it goes on to say that the city has employed 2 different energy consulting firms via bidding over the last 8 years. We are confident enough with how this industry works and who the players are that we can now successfully lock in a firm for a longer-term contract, which will, one, hopefully receive better pricing, and two, stabilize and strengthen the city's presence in the energy market by having the same advisory firm working on behalf for a longer period of time. The existing contract will expire on September 30th, 2025. The petition is being submitted now due to the complexity of this type of bid, which will require some lead time to prepare and subsequently get a contract in place. This petition must be voted upon now as the purchasing department is preparing to issue the new bid. The purchasing agent must know what time period or contract length we will be able to structure the bid around. We respectfully advise the City Council to vote in favor of allowing the purchasing agent to enter in a 6-year contract for energy consulting services. It was the unanimous recommendation of Finance at our subcommittee meeting to grant 49-25.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant 49-25. Is there any discussion? Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
No, I just wanted to give a shout out to the purchasing agent because the questions that I had were all answered in his letter. You know, have they worked with consultants before? How many consultants have they had? So this was really, you know, as I was going through my mind in terms of the questions, they were all right in his letter. So,
Excellent.
yeah, everybody should take that as a model.
Very good. Anything else? All right, all those in favor of 49-25, please recognize usual manner. By a vote of 9-0, 49-25 has been granted. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to Ways and Means and appointments. Is the chairwoman ready to report?
Thank you, Mr. President. C-73, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of the following Cultural Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2028. Afia Obeng, and I apologize for the pronunciation, of Leominster. This is a matter, Mr. President, we had originally tried to get it in for a interview this evening. I'm going to request that we reschedule the interview to June 9th at 6 p.m.
All right, so I think it's already actually scheduled that, so it's a further time recommendation, right?
Further time, yes, thank you.
Councilor Arndinger?
I agree.
Councilor Cormier?
I also agree.
All right, you heard the unanimous I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a resume from Afia Frempog,
Yeah,
but on the appointments, it says Obeng, two different
The
names.
names are different.
she'll have to explain that on the 9th of June.
Okay.
So,
I don't know if it's the same person.
I don't know.
That's a question.
Well, that's a good question, Counselor. That could be the first question out of the gate.
Yes.
On the 9th.
Firing away
All
there.
right, so the recommendation is further time. Is there any discussion beyond that very insightful notation? All right, all those in favor of further time, please recognize usual manner. All right, so that C-73's been given right further time. How are we doing, Mr. LeBlanc? We have one name, C-82.
Thank you, Mr. President. C-82, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of the following Cemetery Commission, term to expire April 15th of 2028. Brian LeBlanc of Morningside Street in Leominster. Same situation, Mr. President, I'm requesting further time, and the interview be scheduled for June 9th at 6:15.
All right, Counselor Arndinger?
I agree.
Counselor Cormier?
I also agree.
Here's the unanimous recommendation of Ways and Means to give C-82 further time. Any discussion? All those in favor, please recognize usual manner. All right, C-82's been given further time. Moving on to Legal Affairs. Is the chairwoman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Legal Affairs, 35-25, Kenneth Delgado, 8 Highland Street, Lancaster, Mass. Request to amend the current lot width under zoning district RB for 2-family dwellings. The amendment would consist of changing the minimum required width from 80 feet to 50 feet for 2-family dwellings. The current frontage requirement for 2-family dwellings in RB is 50 feet. An 80 feet lot width requirement would create pork chop lots, which the city does not favor. Lot configuration would be rectangular and consistent if both frontage and lot width were equal. And this is regarding 1420, 1426, 1428, 1432, Central Street in Leominster. We had a public hearing again earlier this evening. We closed the public hearing. We heard from Mr. Delgado and his, Mr. Franciosi, who was his construction person, and my conclusion, although what they're proposing fits perfectly well for that particular site, I think the questions raised and the concern raised by the acting planning director, would give me hesitation to approve this. So my recommendation would be to give this leave to withdraw. And as we discussed during the public hearing, the petitioner does have the option to take these specific lots to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and he could get a variance for these particular lots. So with that, I would appreciate leave to withdraw without prejudice, and if you would consult with my committee.
Very well, Councilor Tossi
I agree.
and Councilor Cormier.
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to give 35-25 leave to withdraw without prejudice. Is there any further discussion?
Yes.
Councilor Cormier?
Thank you. I agree with the recommendation of the committee. There's no question about it. This particular site seems like there is no problem at all. And I am glad that they have a vehicle, to go through the ZBA. And I'm sure that, they'll prove their case just fine and be successful. But I just think it kind of sounds like a no-brainer to, maybe change some of the language for these pork chop lots. But I think it's prudent for the city council to understand. Give me an example across the city of roughly how many there are, and show me an example of a dozen of them, so that I can get a better visual. Because, you think you're doing something innocent by helping people to, a little bit more density and just things that make sense, common sense. But there could be situations that aren't popping up into mind when you're looking at this particular map, which fits what they want to do. And there's other things that aren't popping into mind that you're going to realize down the road you've created havoc for someone who owns a piece of property. And so I certainly like the direction we're going in, but I'd love to see if this is something we can, with a separate petition and a little bit more actual data, move forward to create scenarios that maybe do work for the majority of people, which I don't know, because we haven't been given that. So I'll go along with the recommendation. Thank you very much, Mr.
Councilor
President.
Robbins?
I just want to quickly echo some of the comments made by the Ward 3 councilor and made earlier. I do think that the recommendation for leave to withdraw seems to be the most appropriate, with the fact that we could seriously negatively impact somebody else across the city without knowing, and I'm not comfortable doing that. With that said, though, there were some really interesting comments made during the public comment about being creative and needing creative solutions to address the housing crisis, and some really factual points about the amount of land left that Leominster has to really build on to provide opportunities for people in my generation. So I really do hope that, we can get some more information from the planning director on what an impact this would have on, other RB districts across the city, and really see if this might be a solution that does help with some of the housing problems that we're seeing in Leominster. So thank you, Mr. President.
I just want to add a couple of things. Actually, the analysis of this is a little bit more complicated than it seems, because, Mr. Gazaris made the point that it's not the ordinance that was proposed isn't changing density. So, you could have lot configurations that are different than the ones that were part of this petition. It may not negatively affect those parcels, even though they could take advantage of lot width or the reduced lot width. So that's one analysis that has to happen, and I agree with the recommendation of the committee. Need a little bit more information on this first. I don't necessarily agree that it's a slam dunk with the Zoning Board of Appeals, because the standard for a variance is a lot more difficult than a special permit. There are 4 statutory criteria that have to be met, and it's can be kind of an uphill battle. But I'll go along with the leave to withdraw. And the other thing I just want to point out is the middle ground here might be to entertain a petition like this that changes lot width with a special permit from the planning board. Now you've got a safeguard that if there's some other place in the city where it doesn't work as well as it works here, that at least you get a bite before the planning board, where you have to satisfy the planning board that a special permit is due or would be appropriate. So we'll see what happens with it. Council Noseworthy?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just very briefly, I wanted to echo the sentiments of the at-large counselor that I'm definitely in agreement with the committee's decision, but it would be interesting, to your point, Mr. President, and to others, to sort of see what might be brought to the council in the future with regards to affordable housing. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, Council Frida.
Yeah, I just think a definition of affordable housing, and that's a good catchphrase nowadays, I mean, because what's affordable, you know, to us, to the average homeowner in the city, and, you know, a realtor's gonna tell you that it's affordable. I can say it's affordable. We're looking at the same data that he's looking at. So I think there's, we can't take a chance on affecting RB zoning in other areas of the city. I think that's a given. We ran across this once before, and we could have really endangered some areas, and, you know, we voted against it. So I think the leave to withdraw is a smart move and gives him opportunities to pursue it other ways. And it also protects the integrity of the zoning.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yep, just quickly. I already did email the city clerk and ask her to follow up with the planning director to ask about, you know, how many lots are in RB that are vacant that could potentially, you know, be impacted by this change in zoning, even though we're not changing it. So we will get that information. I'll certainly make sure that it's shared with everybody here. Second thing is, in terms of affordable housing, I mean, one of the things that people can do by right these days is add an ADU, accessory dwelling unit. So that is something I was going to mention earlier. It wasn't really relevant to Mr. Delgado's proposal, but that again is something that people can do by right now, is add an ADU. So I just want to keep that out there so that people can think of that as an option. And I do think, you know, a planning board, you know, that particular lot configuration with the special permit from the planning board is a good idea. So he's got two options. You know, he's got two ways to get it done. And I think in that place, it's a perfect location, perfect setup to do that. But I think we're doing the right thing here.
Councilor Arnger?
Just as a comment that, you know, he's actually increasing the density by 33% with making this change. And that could be, you know, beneficial to him financially, which he hasn't talked about. But we don't know about other lots. Maybe another lot could be, instead of going from 3 houses, go to 6 houses. So
no, the Residence B density isn't changing. It's not changing by his ordinance.
But
it's zoned Residence B, and because of the way he wants to subdivide the land, he can't get enough units. He can't get 6 units on that parcel of land.
No, I realize
But the number of units you can build per acre in RB is not going to change, one way or the other.
But may I?
Yeah.
I think Councilor Arnger, I mean, I agree with the point that you're making, is that instead of having 2 single-family homes and 2 double-family homes, he can now have 4 two-family homes.
Right, yeah.
Right, so that is an increase in density. I mean, I'm looking at it that way as well. So it is kind of technically, I mean, it is 30%.
It would, on that undivided parcel of land, it would clearly create a greater density, but in the RB zone, it's not going to change the number of units that you can build per acre. That won't change. Okay.
Okay.
So it's a little of each.
Okay.
All right. I guess the recommendation is unanimous on the floor. All those in favor, please recognize usual manner. All right, so by a vote of 9-0, 35-25 has been given leave to withdraw without prejudice. All right, and I get to leave for a little while. Next one. Councilor Dawson, you kicked out. Boot it out.
Get going.
This is C-50, and I'll turn this over to the chairwoman of the Special Legal Affairs Committee, Councilor Frida.
C-50, Dean Mazzarella, Mayor. Request that the City Council hold a hearing on Middlesex Integrated Medicine special permit to operate a marijuana grow facility. We had a meeting scheduled, but the principals were not able to make it. They had 2 graduations out of state, and they were the 2 attorneys. So we did have a meeting, and we continued the hearing until June 10th at 5:30. And hopefully, we are still waiting to hear back from some of the people involved, but hopefully we'll have a chance to wrap this up at that meeting.
So your recommendation, your request is for further time?
Further time, yeah.
And Counselor Shalfo Zephyr?
I agree.
And Counselor Robbins?
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Special Legal Affairs Committee to grant further time. Is there any questions or comments?
Yes, if I may, I guess my question is, I mean, I don't know at this point what we're hoping to accomplish, you know, by having them here. I mean, I believe they're out of here by the late August. Am I correct?
Not yet, not yet, they're not out yet.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know what are we trying to accomplish, I guess is what I'm asking.
We're trying to accomplish, according to what the mayor is asking us to do, to hold a hearing on what is owed to us, which is a lot of money, for 6 years of having a host agreement that wasn't upheld. We did find out that it's in receivership. In receivership, there's no opportunities for anybody to collect any money owed to them. So there's also a federal bankruptcy with the owner of the building. So there's a lot of issues. We did, at the first meeting, give them an opportunity to speak, and we had to cut the meeting short because we were going into a regular meeting. They were not able to make the second one, but we did tell them as a committee that we would continue it for them to be able to come. And the meeting that was set was a conflict with 2 or 3 of the others, and we had one of our members away for a week. So to give them the opportunity of what we told them that we would do, we're having the meeting on June 10th.
Okay. And we'll have attorneys here on June 10th?
We're waiting to hear back from them now.
Okay. I mean, I appreciate all the work your committee's doing. Trust me, I know this is not easy. You know, it's a mess. But I just, you know, my thought is we're spending, you know, how many hundreds of dollars an hour, our attorneys coming out here. I'm just envisioning that we're spending a lot of good money to go after bad money, you know, and they're under some court order to get out of here anyway. And if they don't make this meeting, I mean, we probably got one more shot before they're hightailing out of town anyway. You know, that's...
In all due
Right.
respect, there's a cease and desist order on them, and they have not complied. So I won't even talk about how much money has been spent by attorneys in the past 6 years trying to do something. So I think 1 hour of the city council trying to do what the mayor's asked us to do is not excessive in attorney fees.
I appreciate all your hard work. Thank you. Thank you.
Good. Counselor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yeah, through the chair to the Ward 3 councilor. A couple of things came up. One of the receiver, who is technically, I guess, in charge of the organization, we think he's the owner, stated that they put up a bond to ensure that when they leave, it's going to be done in a systematic, properly done way. So that's one thing that we're trying to confirm, that in fact has been posted and that it's legit. The other question is through KP Law, if we can the city council rescind the permit? Very simply, can we just say, okay, they haven't paid anything, they have never really followed that agreement that they agreed to, so we're going to just yank the permit. And that's the question that's finally on the table. So I think we'll wrap everything up at the next meeting.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Are you good?
I am, sorry.
However you look at it, it's a mess.
It is. It's a mess. Yep. I'm not going to disagree.
Okay, so again, on the floor, we have a unanimous recommendation from the Legal Affairs Committee to grant C-50 further time. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please recognize in the usual manner. By a vote of 7-0, C-50 is given further time. And we will wait for Mr. President to return, and Counselor Tossi.
You guys went to the Columbia.
Not enough time.
Oh, just about.
Moving on to 41-25, is the chairwoman ready to report?
Yes, I am. 4125, Lisa Nugent of 45 Beth Avenue in Leominster requests that the city council prohibit all horse and dog racing and any associated betting or wagering anywhere within Leominster by the following. I'm not going to read all of the details. I think I read it during the earlier public hearing on this petition. Does anybody object to that?
No objection.
Okay, all right. So, as you know, the hearing is continued. The public hearing is continued to June 23rd. We need to schedule a time. We need to vote on a time.
Yeah, the competing petition, if you will, is scheduled for a public hearing the same evening at 6:30. So I don't know if you have a predilection as to which you want to hear first. I mean, I suppose you really can't hear them both at the same time.
No, I'd say schedule this one at 6.
Okay.
6 p.m., please.
All right. I
And
don't
I'd
think
ask you
we
to
have.
check with my committee, though.
I will. Do we have anything that conflicts? I think that's the only thing that's on 6:23, right? All right. So, Councilor Tossi, you okay with the 6:30 hearing time?
Yes.
I'm sorry, 6 o'clock hearing time.
6 o'clock, yeah.
And Councilor Pauline Cormier.
I agree.
All right, so the recommendation by Legal Affairs is to continue the public hearing's already continued, but to 6:23 at 6 p.m. on 4125.
And give further time.
And further time.
Yep.
Councilor Frida?
Through the chair, are you planning on a subcommittee meeting at all?
I absolutely am planning on a subcommittee, and the city clerk last week went out to both petitioners and has heard back from one petitioner who has already, been scheduled, and we're waiting to hear back from the fairgrounds, and we haven't heard back yet.
Okay.
When you have that subcommittee meeting, we got a message from Jim Whitney regarding 2 individuals that have been working with him, Bob Durand and Marty Suberg.
Right.
That are working on an environmental piece.
Right.
Could you entertain having them come into the subcommittee meeting?
Both petitioners will have the opportunity to give a brief introductory presentation. I mean, so he can bring whoever he likes.
The only reason, I know both of those gentlemen, and one was the commissioner of DEP, and I think they might have a lot of answers to some of the questions we might have.
Well, they were both on the mayor's show last week. I mean, I tuned in to see.
Well, I didn't watch a show. I was talking about us being able to ask them questions.
Absolutely. No. Those both gentlemen I think that you're referring to were part of the presentation on the mayor's show last week. Is that correct?
They're consultants and lobbyists.
That's right, consultants and lobbyists. So they were there during that presentation. So I would imagine for a subcommittee meeting where they can make a presentation that he would bring them. So it's up to him. I'm not going to tell him who to bring, but certainly he is welcome to bring whoever he needs for a presentation to the council, because that's the opportunity really to ask questions, for us to ask questions, and for him to get the details out that he wants to get out before the public hearing.
Okay. All right. So you heard the unanimous recommendation for public hearing on 41-25 at 6 o'clock. All in favor? Please recognize your usual manner.
Yep.
Okay, that may be done. Moving on to 47-25, I think the recommendation here is going to be further time.
You know what, I have Mr. President?
Yep.
In looking at the last agenda and this agenda,
Yes.
4725 on our last agenda was described in a very simple way, and then this one is very detailed and has bullet number 1 and bullet number 2. I'm not sure what the change is all about, because 4725, I'll read it.
Yeah.
Says and this is the prior meeting, this is our last meeting of May 12th. 4725, Brian R. Falk, attorney, on behalf of Crossroads Office Park LLC, request to adopt the proposed Fairgrounds Overlay District zoning amendments regarding 670, 690, and 694 Mechanic Street, Leominster, Mass. See language attached. And then on this agenda, 4725, Brian R. Falk, attorney, on behalf of Crossroads Office Park LLC, requests to adopt the proposed Fairgrounds Overlay District zoning amendments. 1, to amend the City of Leominster zoning map to include the Fairgrounds Overlay District, FGO, consisting of the following parcels: 670 Mechanic Street, 690 Mechanic Street, and it also references the map number and the page number. 694 Mechanic Street, the city landfill property off Mechanic Street, Leominster, Mass. And then number 2, and to further amend the City of Leominster zoning ordinance by adding a new section, 22-34, Fairgrounds Overlay District, allowing the following uses by right: horse racing, sports bar, recreation outdoor, recreation indoor, business and professional office, and apartment/multifamily dwelling. And the following uses by special permit: uses otherwise allowed in the FGO district that involve outdoor amplified sound and permanent exterior lighting, excluding horse racing and sports bar uses. The amendment also seeks to implement dimensional regulations and off-street parking and loading requirements. See language attached. So I guess my question is, maybe through the chair to the city clerk, to ask, how did the language on tonight's agenda end up being so different from what was on initially when the petition was filed?
I believe it went to, the legal opinion went to the assistant city clerk, but I'm not positive.
A legal opinion about how the petition should
That's
appear?
where this piece, number 2, came from.
Well, I guess I'm confused.
So,
But I cannot be honest and tell you that that's the case.
Okay. Do you want to see my prior agenda?
yeah, no, I have
You
no
got
doubt.
it? Huh?
I have no doubt you're reading it correctly.
You can just show it to him.
Yeah. Well, do you know how it got expanded?
Yeah, it got adjusted by the attorney.
For by Mr. Falk.
Yes,
So he sent you a communication?
yeah, and I sent him the public hearing, and he adjusted it exactly how the planning board had it on their public hearing.
So what he submitted initially was adopt the proposed Fairgrounds Overlay District zoning amendment, see attached,
That's right, yep.
right?
Yep.
That's what I have.
That's right.
And
that's what I
attached to
have.
that is a letter from Mr. Zakelli,
Yep,
which talks about the parcels involved.
yep.
So with respect to number 1, I don't think that changes a whole lot, other than the fact that, well, no, the map numbers are on Mr. Zakelli's letter too.
Yep.
Then there's another letter from the attorney, Mr. Falk at Merrick, that again talks about the lot numbers. And then there's an actual Fairgrounds Overlay District zoning amendment, which is very detailed. And it's several pages, actually 5 pages, of an actual zoning amendment, which I guess is summarized down into number 2. So, I mean,
Well, I didn't get any of that correspondence.
I had no communication with Mr. Falk.
No.
Yeah.
No, I
I'm just
know.
saying, I had this from day one.
That's what I have,
Right,
what
this
you
packet.
have. Exactly.
Right, so what looks like happened is Mr. Falk contacted the assistant city clerk and took his 5 pages of zoning and distilled it to number 2, which is.
Well, I'd like to have a copy of Mr. Falk's email correspondence with the
Yeah.
assistant city clerk.
Could you-
And then
could-
also
could
we'll
you-
have to go through and make sure that this does summarize it. I mean, the detail, there's a lot of detail, so I think summarizing it, I'm concerned about things that may or may not be, left in, left out, changed, whatever. I mean, I'm totally confused. And I have to thank my good friend sitting next to me for pointing out that, there was something amiss here.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like that number 2 is a much distilled version of the 5-page zoning amendment. And I'm not sure that should have been changed
Right.
from the original,
Right.
which is an issue we can take up when it's heard. We can take that up when it's heard. But, I mean, in fairness to them, they did submit an entire ordinance as well.
Well, also, in fairness, I think, to us,
Yeah,
this is a very different petition than the one that we have before us.
the petition is what they timestamped. The description in the agenda is really not controlling of the petition. It's supposed to be a description to give the public fair notice of what's involved, right? It wouldn't contain the entire ordinance. It's going to contain some kind of a summary of the ordinance.
Oh, I agree.
So,
Yeah,
I'll get right to you in a minute.
Yep.
At a minimum, please distribute Mr. Falk's communications to you, to the entire
To
council.
everybody, yeah.
And then I'll hear from Councilor Robbins.
Just for the record, I think that my bigger concern was around what the process is for changing a description from one meeting to the next is because, now granted, this is much more descriptive than our original description, right? But if it had gone the opposite way, that could cause some serious problems for the public.
For future reference, that should be brought to my attention before it's done.
With what Stephanie got.
I don't care what Stephanie does. That's the planning
That's the planning
board.
board,
That's
yeah.
not us. I understand how you got sort of caught up in
In the
this.
middle.
Yeah.
Right,
But in
absolutely.
the future, just as a point of reference, bring it to my attention. And, we'll ask on 623. I mean, my guess is the attorney got a little nervous that the description for the public wasn't quite broad enough, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But the petition's the petition, and anyway, thank you for bringing it up. So, where were we? At further time, right?
We're at further time. We have a public hearing scheduled for this petition on June 23rd at 6:30 PM.
All right, and Councilor Tossi, you're okay with that, I assume?
Yes, I agree.
Cormier?
I agree.
All right, unless there's an additional discussion, which I see none, all those in favor of further time? Okay, so by a vote of 9-0, 47-25 has been given further time. Moving on to 48-25, I will note at the outset, we have a slight conflict with the interview of the heretofore unknown last name interviewee, which is scheduled at 6 o'clock. So could we just do a little housekeeping and perhaps change that interview time to, Mr. LeBlanc is what time, 6:15?
6:15.
Why don't we change the other one to 6:10? Is that okay with you?
Certainly.
Is it all right with you, Councilor Arndinger, Councilor Cormier?
Fine with me.
All right, all those in favor of amending that interview time to 6:10, please indicate usual manner. Thank you. Now you can take up Mr. Bovenzi's petition.
Certainly. Thomas M. Bovenzi, request an amendment to change zoning district of parcel 94-6, amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Leominster, Mass. To change the boundaries of the zoning district shown on the zoning map so that the parcel identified as Lot 6 on Assessor's Map 94, containing approximately 9,984 square feet and having an address of 44 Union Street, shall be located entirely in the Residence RB District. Regarding Waymike LLC, JMC Realty Trust, Kyle Melanson zoning change. And this covers 26 Union Street, 40 Union Street, and 44 Union Street. So we have a continued public hearing, on June 9th, 2025 at 6 PM.
All right,
So I would ask for further time.
Very
Sorry.
well. Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of Legal Affairs to give 48-25 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of further time, please indicate usual manner. 48-25 has been given further time. We have no listed new business or old business. Councilor Frida? Community calendar? Okay.
I just wanted to commend Jason Main, our new veteran director, on being thrown into the fire on just a short time being the director, having his first Memorial Day. I think he did an exceptional job, and I thought it was well done all the way around, so just a
I
sort of
couldn't,
encouragement on
I
that.
couldn't agree more. Big shoes to fill for him, but he did a fine job, and Leominster residents should all be proud of the fact that our guest speaker was a Leominster resident and a general. The first general from Leominster since about 1830, from what I understand, Paul Kettner, who gave a wonderful address yesterday at Carter Park. Anybody else have anything for the community calendar? Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
No, I was just going to say, Jason Main did a wonderful job, as a new person, and Rick, those shoes are definitely hard to fill, but I want to give a shout out to Jolene.
Oh, yes.
Constant. I mean,
100%.
she's the glue, I think, that has always held that office together, and I think Rick trained her well, or she trained Rick well. I mean, I don't know who trained who, but that staff, and they do a terrific job. So I want to give Jolene a shout out.
Yeah, and it was a nice turnout too yesterday from the city. So, kudos to everybody who made the effort to come out and recognize our fallen heroes. Councilor Noseworthy?
Briefly, I would just like to echo the sentiments of the other councilors. Obviously, this is my first time as a city councilor participating in these events, and also being a veteran, I was really touched by everything, and I think, like everyone said, Jason Main did a phenomenal job, as well as Jolene. The other thing I just wanted to mention is, I know we're at the end of the month, but May is Mental Health Month, and I just wanted to thank the mayor. I had approached him about writing up a proclamation, which he did, and hoping that next year we can continue to build on that, but just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn? Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, second Councilor Robbins. All right, we're adjourned. We're adjourned. Thank you all.
City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.